Hey, what is up everyone? So I'm going to do something a little bit new on the channel here, and in today's video we're ranking every NF album. So NF has a brand new EP coming out this Friday, so only a couple days from when this video releases, and I'm super excited about it. It's something I've been waiting for basically all year, and it's definitely going to be my highlight of the year, honestly. I've been a huge NF fan ever since his first studio album with Mansion came out back when I was in high school. And ever since then, I've just been a huge fan. Basically, every year since then, his music has always been the top of my Spotify Wrapped each year. I listen to basically every song on repeat all the time. And overall, he's just my all-time favorite artist. So I thought this would be a fun opportunity to rank all the albums leading up to this new EP coming out and just take some time to talk about my favorite artist. So obviously with the ranking, the hard part is which one is going to be at the bottom of the list. And to start off, we're starting with Mansion. Mansion's the first studio album for NF, and while this is at the bottom of my ranking, it's still a really great album and I think a really good start to NF's career. While some songs like Motivated and Turn the Music Up bring the album down a bit, overall, all the songs on here are really solid, and the final song, Can You Hold Me, brings a nice emotional end to the album. Mansion is probably the one that I go back to the least. While there's a few songs that I listen to a lot from it, I don't go back and listen to the whole album too often like some of the other ones I do. Some standout tracks from this album though is Intro, Mansion, Notepad, and I'll Keep On. And I'll say I'll Keep On is probably his best fully Christian song. He obviously has some others that either tie in some Christianity to it or are more about Christianity. I would say Oh Lord is a very Christian heavy song, but this one I think is definitely his best. I feel like it's a very honest look at his faith at the time of making the song, and I feel like it's super relatable. It's one that I think I relate to a lot, and just in general a really good song. At our fifth spot we have Therapy Session. This is the next one that came out after Mansion. This one was a hard one to place because I have a huge love for this album. It's where I really became a big fan of NF. I started listening to NF about 6 months prior to this album releasing. So I started off with Mansion. I got it on Spotify, Discovery Weekly or whatever it's called. And I had some time to really fall in love with Mansion right before Therapy Session released. And that really made me a huge fan because I think every song on this album is great. Some aren't as memorable as songs from the other albums we'll talk about, and obviously the only reason why this album is so much lower on the list is just because there's so many great albums that NF has released since then. I think the best song on this album is Therapy Session. I really love this, especially the music video. I think the music video is great for this song as well. How Could You Leave Us is another one that I think is probably his most emotional song to date. I think if you're trying to introduce someone to NF and you really want to pull on the heartstrings a little bit, that's probably the song you want to choose to start them off with. And a few others that are standouts for this album I would say are Real and Got You On My Mind. Those are two that I listened to a lot back when this first released. At our fifth spot we have Perception. Perception's an interesting one. I was kind of going back and forth a lot between having Perception or Therapy Session take this spot. And that's mainly because while I fell in love with Therapy Session, I felt like Perception was really the mainstream album. It's really where the mainstream audience kind of first started hearing NF. Let You Down, I believe, is his most popular song to this day, just because of the mainstream appeal that that song seemed to have. And in some ways that kind of pushed me away from Perception. Not necessarily saying that, if other people like it, I don't like it. It's not necessarily that, but I almost have more of a connection to the songs in the albums that had more of an underrated feel to them that, not that many people knew about or heard or anything. So it's not necessarily saying that if it goes mainstream that's a bad thing. I think that's great. I want NF to be successful. But there's also something special to the music that you really love, but not too many people have listened to it before. But speaking on the album itself, Perception, every time I listen to the album, it gives me a lot of nostalgia for high school when this released. I was a junior in high school, and every song I feel like is really amazing on this album and feels very memorable when thinking about them. Intro 3 is probably my most listened to song on this album. I really love the storytelling that's done in this, and I even did a school project where I used Photoshop to make my own album cover for this song. So this album I really have a lot of nostalgia for, I really love, and I think every song in this album really hits it out of the park. Some standout tracks for this album is Intro 3, of course, like I just mentioned, Outcast, My Life, If You Want Love, Outro, and 10 Feet Down. Outro, I'd say, is one of my favorite endings for our album, and it really feels like it's the end of this trilogy that we've seen with Mansion, Therapy Session, and Perception. And after you listen to it, it makes you excited to see where does the journey take you next. So now into our top 3, we have at our 3rd spot, Clouds. So Clouds is one of the smallest albums on this list, and that's mainly why he calls it a mixtape. It's not necessarily considered an album, but it still packs a heavy punch with a handful of really great songs. One song on here, Story, is one that I think really needs to be watched with the music video because it's just so completely unique from anything else he's done before, where it really, like the name would suggest, tells a story throughout it that's just so vivid and detailed that, I don't know, there's something really unique and special about it compared to everything else that he's made. Some other standouts are Just Like You, That's a Joke, Prideful, and Layers, with Prideful probably being my favorite from this album. Moving on to our 2nd spot, this was another one that was really hard to place and switch between the first one and the second one, but for this second one we have Hope, which is the most recent album leading up to this new EP coming out Friday, and in many ways this could be viewed as a finale to the journey that we've been following with Nate over the last many years. Luckily it's not the last album we're getting from him, but it feels very unique compared to all the albums before. With this album, NF shows us a path forward where we can let go of our anger and forgive, like in Mama and in Hope. We also have some songs that talk about letting go of our insecurities like we see in Mistake, or let go of the pain like we see in Happy. And then we also had some really great high energy tracks like Motto, Suffice, Careful, and Turn My Back. But then the final track rivals Outro to be the best final track on an NF album with Running, which is a beautiful song that encompasses all the growth that we've seen in the other tracks of the album. Hope is a really amazing album, and I remember the night perfectly when this released at midnight, and I remember being up waiting for it and watching the music video when it released and just being super excited to listen to all of it and being completely satisfied with all the songs that we got. Some standouts from this album are Hope, Happy, Running, Bullet, and Suffice. And honestly, I'm not even sure which one would be my favorite from this album. Probably Hope, but all of them I listen to a ton. Despite Hope being a pretty good contender for the top spot, our actual number 1 spot is going to be The Search. The Search is by far my favorite album of all time. And not even just talking about NF albums, I'm talking about every album ever made by anyone. The Search is also one of the biggest albums he's ever released with 18 unique songs in this album. And The Search holds some of my top NF songs of all time, such as Nate, My Stress, Change, and Time. I think The Search is a masterpiece by every measure. It has a huge range of songs spanning between high energy rap songs like When I Grow Up and Why, along with emotion heavy songs like the aforementioned Nate and Only. Every song in this album would be close to the top of my list if I were to rank every NF song individually, and I remember when this album dropped and trying to sneak a listen to the album any chance I could while I was working. I also remember the Search tour being one of the first concerts that I ever went to, so I have a little bit of a special connection to that. And I will mention that concert did feel a little bit more special than when I went to see Hope, because by the time we got to Hope and the tour that came along with that, NF was filling out stadiums and we were in like a stadium audience. And while that's great that there's so many NF fans around that, you can, bond with and stuff, and I had a lot of nice conversations with other NF fans, there was something nice and special about the smaller aspect of the smaller concerts where it felt a little bit more intimate. Overall though, basically every NF album has some really truly amazing and emotionally heavy songs in them. And don't take my ranking as trying to diss any of the other albums, I love them all. But let me know in the comments below, what would you rank all of these albums? And let me know how excited you are for the new EP coming out Friday. And if it's already out by the time you watch this video, let me know what your favorite song is from the new EP. But that's all I have for this video. If you enjoyed, it'd be great if you have to like and subscribe. And until next time, thanks for watching. I'll see y'all later. Bye y'all.